Hi, and welcome to Chapter 7. Today we're going to talk about leaders and followers and their relationships between the two. If you look at the voice thread assignments, right, we're going to look at you to, or ask you to analyze your relationship with your leader, right, with your boss, whoever happens to be your leader. In this chapter, we use the word dyadic relationship. And a dyadic, right, is two things that are linked together to pairs. So it talks about the relationship between one follower and the leader. So not just the leader influencing the whole group as a group, but how this individual relationship is with each. So the dyadic theory says, right, an approach to a leadership that attempts to explain why leaders vary their behaviors with different followers, right? So different followers get treated different ways, right? We talked before about situational leadership. This is a little different about varying it per each individual follower. And it talks about the relationship that develops between the leader and the follower, not just instantaneous exchanges like we talked about in the situational leadership. So the dyadic leader approach argues that a single leader will form different relationships with different followers. Right. So some people get a lot of support, other people not so much in terms of how much time and attention they get from the leaders. Right, which this takes us to the vertical dyadic linkage theory, right, which says there's an in-group and an out-group. Right? So, and you may have experienced this at work. A lot of people in class have told me over and over again, like, yeah, this theory really makes sense, that there's an in-group and an out-group. And the in-group includes followers that have strong ties to the leader, maybe social ties. They go to lunch, they see him outside of work. It's a supportive relationship, high mutual trust, right? They trust each other a lot. We're going to trust each other with secrets. We're going to trust each other with responsibility, so forth, right? There's loyalty running both ways, and there's influence running both ways, right? So those people in the in-group get to influence the leader more than those people in the out-group. The out-group, there's just very few social ties. The conversation is mostly one way. It's mostly directive. Here, do this for me. That's when we talk about task-centered, right? Here, do this and then do this, and it's mostly things like instruction. There's certainly no influence from the follower to the leader. Right. So in the in-group, right, they get to participate in decision-making, right? It's a great place to be in the in-group, right? They're given an added responsibility. So this is the training grounds. They get a chance to move up, a chance to do well and put themselves ahead of everybody else. They have greater access to the leader, both for support, for information, for instruction, for mentoring, those types of things. And the leader does support them more. And then they get, and there's reciprocity going back and forth. By high exchange, we mean, again, there's lots of conversations going both ways, influence. So there's not just instructional things, but there's really thoughtful exchanges going on in both directions. Often they'll get special favors granted from the leader. They might get more flex time for work, that type of thing. Just the boss is more understanding of them because they're one of the key players. There's mutual needs, right? You make me look good, I'll make you look good is sort of the thought there, right? And they're more likely to share with own group members than with members of other groups, so they're tighter to the group, right? Their loyalty, their power, their influence comes from supporting their leader and the leader's group, right? And they clearly understand that. They know where their bread is buttered, as I would say. Right? The out-group, they're just managed according to contractual requirements. Hey, do this. You're supposed to do this per so many a day. Did you do it? Right? Sort of thing. Like it's like kind of the way you might treat a union person. You get paid to do your job, not to have your opinion, those type of things. They do not get to experience these positive relations or influence with the leader. Right, which all this sort of morphs up into leader-member exchange theory, often abbreviated as LMX. And again, lots of working professionals have told me they think this one makes a lot of sense to them. They see this happen all the time at work. So this is very much the in-group and out-group again, and it's about the quality of exchanges between the employee and his or her superior. These face-to-face exchanges and so forth. It's basically very much like the other one with the in-group and out-group. In the last bullet, you'll see the leaders do not interact with all followers equally, right? That is not, and that's absolutely true, right? So there's this different LMX groups that pop up. Right? We have the high quality groups, that's the in group, right? They get better social support from the leader. They get more resources, right? When they ask for help, they get it. They might loan them people resources to finish their job. They certainly get more guidance, particularly about their career, because they're seen as the up-and-comers. They're the people who support the leader. They're the people the leader plans on moving up in the organization, so they're the ones who get the career development. They get input, right? They get input into decision-making. Or sometimes I might, if I'm the leader, I might ask them, what's your preference for this? Right? It doesn't mean any difference with your preference, right? So they have greater negotiating latitude, particularly with the leader, right? The low quality people, they don't get much support at all. It's formal supervision. Here, do this. I'm going to be formal with you. We're not going to chit chat. There's no social exchanges, those type of stuff. And I pretty much don't care much about your decision making because you don't have any influence over me. That's what the high quality members, the in-group, is for. So what happens, there's this special relationship between the in-groups, right? So to maintain the relationship, the leader must, right? So to have people in the in-group, you must pay them extra attention, right? You must remain responsive to their needs. You must rely more on time-consuming influence methods. You're going to influence them, you're going to discuss, you're going to convince, as opposed to bark orders. Because you have this trusting relationship with them, right? And you are certainly not going to resort to coercive or heavy-handed use of authority. There's going to be no threats and that kind of stuff, right? Because they're on the in-team. They're expected to try as hard as they can to support you and the team. Therefore, they're already trying. So the use of threats is irrelevant. And matter of fact, it will greatly damage the relationship. So the followers have social capital with the leader. Right? They can expect better treatment from the leader. So with this deepening exchange, right? The followers for these in-group people, they also expect a few more things, right? They expect more help from their careers. They expect special favors, things like I mentioned, like flex time or extra help or extra mentoring. They're allowed to participate in decision making. There's more sharing of information, and actually there's more tangible rewards. They might get the better office or other type of resources around the office. In exchange for all these wonderful benefits, right? There's some expectations of the in-group members, right? They are supposed to be more loyal to the leader, right? They're supposed to be very loyal to the leader. If they don't have the leader's back, the leader's going to be pretty hurt. They're going to be committed to task objectives. Right. So and by committed, I mean really committed, right? So the leader's reputation is based on the organization achieving its goals. So the people in the in-group are supposed to strive very, very hard to make sure the organization meets its goals, including cracking the whip on the people in the out-group a little bit, right? Getting them going. And we expect them, if things aren't going well, to work harder, to stay longer, to make sure the organization is successful, because that's where the rewards are coming from, the in-group leader and so forth. So their heart is firmly attached to the leader's horse, and so they want to make sure that horse is successful so that they're successful and they look successful. All right, so the leader, so the second bullet, right, the leader represents social capital and gives him or her influence over the followers, right? So certainly that runs in both directions. Right. And unless the cycle is interrupted, the relationship is likely to develop to a point where there's a high degree of mutual dependence, support, and loyalty. Mutual dependence, right? You need your followers. You need your troops to take care of you, so you take care of them, right? To be successful. It's very, very common. Right. So this happens, it doesn't happen overnight. So there's 3 stages. So this is where the students really like to pay attention about. So how do I get in the in-group? If the in-group is where all the rewards come from, all the mentoring, all the support, all the exchanges, all of that, and for that I work harder, I'm loyal to the group, I'm loyal to the leader, and then that's where the rewards come from, the promotions and the good assignments and all that. And how do I get in the in-group, right, is the question you should be asking yourself. Right, so the book does a pretty good job explaining this. Like first, and this is true of sort of any relationship, when a leader and follower meet each other, they conduct themselves as strangers, right? It's the polite, formal the way we address each other, right? But then the leaders and followers begin to test each other. So impression management is the follower's effort to project a favorable image in order to gain immediate benefit or improve a long-term relationship. So am I trying to do well, or am I just sucking up in the short to the boss, right? The first thing you want to do is make a good impression with your leader, and that you're there not flash in the pan, but you're there truly to support the goals of the organization and the leader, right? Ingratiation is the effort to appear supportive, appreciative, and respectful. Yes, I'm glad you're here, new boss. There's some things we could use some help with around here, so you show some support, and I mean, you're just happy that they're there and helping out. And then self-promotion is the effort to appear competent and dependable, right? And you should really ask yourself, how would I look to another person? Am I on time or ahead of time? Am I organized? How do I present myself? How do I present my workspace? How do I behave in meetings? How do I support the departmental goals? Do I even know what they are, right? So you need to do some marketing of yourself, right? Do some packaging, some marketing of yourself to make you look like somebody the leader would want to put on the in-group, particularly if it's a new leader, right? And this happens before they even get there. You should be organized and ready to go so you're ready to make a good first impression on the new leader. Or if you're the new follower joining an existing group, right, that's the way you should show up, ready to go. Now, after this formal meeting and first impressions we go to step 2, where the leaders and followers start to become acquainted, right? They further refine their roles, they would play together, and they start to develop this mutual trust. Oh, you told me to do this, I got it done early. And the leader understands the follower takes care of things, they don't let the ball drop. They will look out for them, they will look out for the department, they can be trusted with confidences, all of those type of things. So the relationship just gets better and better. And it's interesting, like dating, right? Relationships usually move forward, and if they don't move forward, they move backwards. So relationships, the last bullet here, relationships that do not move beyond stage 1 may deteriorate and remain at the level of the out group. So if I start to move you into the in group, but you don't move into the in group, then I'm going to move you to the out group. You don't get to hang in that introductory stage. We're only introductory for so long, and then we're going to move you to the out group if you don't succeed in getting into the in group. Right, which completely makes sense that as a leader, I only have so much time. I need to sort you people out. Right, and then stage 3, right? The roles reach maturity. Exchange based on self-interest. I'm going to make my boss look good. My boss is going to make me look good. I want to work for an organization that's successful, so I look successful. So I'm going to make my boss, my organization look successful. And of course, the boss wants the same thing. The end result of the life cycle model of the LMX relationship is the creation of actual and perceived differences between in and out group members. So I'm going to take very good care of my in-group people. They're my key people. I can't do without it. And the rest, well, they're just sort of doing what they're told, and I can get other people to do that. I don't have a lot invested in them, and it wouldn't take me much to replace them, quite frankly. And that's kind of how the out-group is thought of, right? So it is key in your success at work and your professional development to be sure you're in the in-group, right? You need to talk to your boss. You need to help your boss out. You need to make your boss's life better, right, rather than worse, so they will move you into the in-group, right? And that doesn't always include waiting to be asked to do things. Sometimes that includes just tearing into it. I had when I worked, we had a new engineering manager, and I was like an engineering supervisor, and he one of the project managers left the company, and our new boss said he was going to take over this job as project manager, which quite frankly he never took on too much on the plate. But anyway, we were getting ready for this ISO 9000 audit where they check your documentation to make sure you're organized and know what you're supposed to be doing and so forth. And so I knew my boss was going to some special managerial retreat for a couple days, and I also knew the project documentation that he just took over was an absolute train wreck of, it's just loose files laying in boxes and things like that. It wasn't organized at all. So I went into his office and I said, "Hey, boss, we're having a pop internal audit on ISO 9000. I want to see your project documentation, see if it's up to snuff." And he looks at me and he goes, "It's not. It's just it's in heaps, right? And hopefully it's here, but it's not organized. It's not anything." I kidded him. I said, "Yeah, I know you are. I know it's a mess. You inherited a mess. I'll tell you what, you're off in this retreat, right? Yeah. So your admin's probably not going to have much to do, right? So if you would allow her to work on this, I'll give her some direction, and under my direction, she can whip this stuff into shape, and she can have it all organized and filed in 3-ring binders with tabs and all that kind of stuff like it's supposed to be for the instructions, the way we're supposed to do our documentation around here." And he looked at me and he said, "Oh God, if you would do that, I would so much appreciate it, right?" And goes, "And I'll be gone for 3 days. You can have her the whole 3 days." Well, it didn't take 3 days. I don't even the whole day. But anyway, I gave the admin some instructions, and she went to work on this stuff, and she was pulling all together. And she had a couple of questions for me. It wasn't even that hard for me. She did all the work. She just asked me questions on how to go about a few things. And by the time our boss got back, his documentation was pristine. It's in these beautiful binders, and it's all organized and coded. And the admin put beautiful pictures on the outside of these binders, and it's all color coded and with a key, and it was just fantastic, right? Because she had way too much time to do it. And so he got back, and our boss said, "Hey, since I got here, some of the people haven't impressed me very much. There's only about 3 people I trust around here to get things done, and well, you're one of them," right? And that was not any invent a new product that's going to make us $1 zillion kind of thing. That was just realizing that he was struggling. The boss had a mess on his hands. He inherited a mess. And so I stepped up, and it wasn't even me. I stepped up and volunteered to be the guiding effort to lead his admin to clean this mess up. and it worked. And that guy always thought highly of me. Right? So that's an example, right? How you get in the in group, right? I was sort of on the fence because he was so new there. There wasn't really anybody on the in group yet, and then apparently after that little maneuver, there were 3 people in the in group, right? Give you an idea of how that works. So some of the things that look for followers' attributes, right, to get into the in group, right? They show initiative, right? That's exactly what I was talking about, going to my boss's office, right? Kidding them in a very teasing voice, saying, hey, let me see your documentation, right? Not I'm gonna throw some power trip on them or something like that, right? There's a strong commitment to work goals, stronger sense of responsibility for the unit success, right? Hey, our group needs to be successful in this outside audit, right? Let me clean your documentation up for you so we look good and you look good, right? And that's what he took away. All right, not that I was trying to do his job, that I was helping in a place where they needed help. So these followers, so the second bullet here, right, these followers are attributes that influence leaders. So what are the leaders going to do when the followers do these things? The leader's going to show support. They're going to delegate more. They're going to allow greater discretion. Here, you know how to do this. You take care of it, right? You figure it out, right? More open communication. You get to talk to them, and you get to tell them when you think they're wrong, that type of thing, or when they might be wrong, right? So there's mutual influence going back and forth between the leaders and the followers at this point. Right, so guidelines, other guidelines, becoming a more effective follower, right? Offer to support the leader, right? Take initiative, right? Often that's the biggest gripe we have against followers. They'll take, oh, he's the leader, I'll just sit back, right? Remember the first follower in the video you're going to watch for the second voice thread. Voice thread, what is it? 6.2, right? You're going to watch that video about the first follower, right? The lead followers have important roles in an organization. They need to set the example for the other followers how this group works. Right, you get to play a counseling and coaching role for the leader. Hey, boss, you might want to watch out for this. Or maybe we should, I like your idea to do this thing, boss, but maybe we should also consider doing this too. Right, the issues and concerns. You know what I heard? This might be an issue for us. We might have to put this on the radar and watch out for this thing. Right, those kind of conversations go a long way with the boss. Seek and encourage honest feedback from the boss. Hey, I got this thing. I'm almost finished with it. I wonder if you take a quick look and see if there's anything else you'd like to see on it. You let them know it's a draft. You let them know it's not finished, right? And then you let them take a look at it and give some positive, constructive feedback, right? You want to understand your role and expectations. Do you want me to take care of this, or do you want me to bring this to you, right? That's okay. Just clear it up, right? As you start to get more and more authority from the leader, they let you to do more things. Just touch base with them so you don't overstep. Right, and keep the leader informed, good news and bad. Hey, we're doing this. Hey, we're doing that. Hey, watch out for this. Or so-and-so struggling a bit, or whatever, right? Right, just keep in mind, leaders get lots of inputs from lots of different people, and you got to help them out, right? And resist inappropriate influence, right? You're not in there taking all their time. You're not shutting people down. You're not using your power to influence them against others, all of that, right? It's about, you got to take the long-term approach. You're helping the organization, and you're helping the leader, and that's going to help you in the long run. And if you stick with that, right, I think you're going to be all right. All right, so I really like this chapter. I think this one, particularly for young professionals, is a very important chapter. Some very important lessons there on how to start moving up and get some more influence in the organization, right? This is some of the first steps to leadership. Thanks.